I was reading an article recently that discussed ISFPs as being mild. And I think that there's a great deal of accuracy in using that adjective to describe ISFPs, mild, that they are mild people. So I want to take a moment to analyze why that would be and then where that description breaks down. I think the reason that ISFPs will be perceived as mild is because they do not particularly enjoy being controlled, and therefore they do not enjoy controlling other people. Oftentimes, the controlling or the need to control human beings comes from a higher extroverted judging function like extroverted feeling or extroverted thinking, and often combined with a higher introverted perceiving function like introverted intuition or introverted sensing. So as someone has a higher introverted perceiving function combined with a higher extroverted judging function, they tend to feel a little bit more comfortable directing human beings. Those who are ISFPs do not fit that cognitive function makeup, having a high introverted judging function, introverted feeling, and a high extroverted perceiving function, extroverted sensing. And therefore, they do not tend to feel comfortable directing other human beings or telling them what to do. And therefore, that is often going to come off as a very mild-mannered approach to life, because you won't hear ISFPs saying frequently, you should do this, or you need to do that, or hey, you go over there. They don't like to direct people. They don't like to confront people as a general rule. And therefore, they're going to appear mild. And they also, as I stated a moment ago, they do not like particularly to be controlled. Although I think ISFPs do not particularly mind to be sort of guided or even directed by others, provided that that is done in a relatively kind and passive way. So while I don't think the ISFP is going to ever enjoy being bossed in a way that is over the top or in your face, I don't think that they mind being given general direction on how to do something or what needs to be done or what is expected of them. In fact, I think they rather prefer to know what is expected of them, as long as it's not done in a very aggressive manner. Now, I think that all of this stems from the fact that ISFPs, as is the case with all IPs, are rather concerned with how they appear in the eyes of other human beings. IPs in general have a deep-seated, I would say, nervousness or concern about them when it pertains to being judged by other human beings. IPs do not like to feel as though they are under the weight or the microscope of another human being's judgment. And therefore, the ISFP does not want to direct other human beings or push other people around, because I think that we can see that that then turns around. It comes back on ourselves. The more that we hold the microscope over other human beings and push them around or tell them what to do or direct them or any of those things, then the more likely it is that that microscope will then be turned back on us. With our introverted feeling as our primary cognitive function, we're very concerned with our identity, and we want to be seen on the external by other human beings as we see ourselves internally. We can, at times, I believe, think very highly of ourselves. But we don't necessarily put ourselves out there to a great degree, because we don't want to be perceived in a way that is different than how we perceive ourselves. And I think that we often fear that if we put ourselves out there, we may even accidentally misidentify ourselves or say something that we do not perceive to be consistent with who we believe ourselves to be inside. And so we're always very concerned with how people perceive us. We're always very concerned with how we are putting ourselves out there, and therefore the ISFP is not going to want to push hard against other human beings for fear of being misunderstood or judged incorrectly or improperly. The sum of all of that is that because we are so concerned with how we appear to others, and because we are so concerned with really our reputations, and because we are so hesitant to be pushed or guided or directed or controlled, and it really comes down to control, because we are so hesitant to allow ourselves to be controlled by other human beings, we then will not want to control others or boss them or direct them to any great degree. And therefore, we appear, I believe, very mild. We often just want to go off by ourselves, do our own thing, be left alone, leave others alone, and we really do go through life. The ISFP really does go through life with a very live and let live attitude. However, there is a trigger in the ISFP. When the ISFP, I believe, is super overwhelmingly dedicated to some craft. So when the ISFP, maybe, let's say it's an ISFP musician, and that musician is super dedicated to producing his or her music exactly like he or she wants it. He will probably try to do everything that he can to produce his music on his own because he does not want to have to tell other people what to do. But to the degree that other people have to be involved, if those other people are not living up to the standard that the ISFP sets for himself, and I promise you, ISFPs set for themselves higher standards than anyone else is going to set for them. When it pertains especially to anything that they are producing that they believe will be a reflection of who they are. So an ISFP musician would say, this music that I'm producing is a reflection of who I am inside. I am allowing the world to see something of myself. And therefore, it needs to be faithful to who I am. It needs to be accurate to who I am. Anyone who partakes of what I produce needs to be able to see an accurate representation of who I am on the inside. And therefore, that's a very personal thing. So it's not something that's going to want to have the influence or the effect of other human beings, because how can they know who I am inside? How can my art that I produce be true to me if others have an influence on it? They are not me. They are not a part of who I am inside, and they do not know what accurately represents me inside. But when I begin to produce that whatever it is, it could be music, it could be literal art like painting or something of that nature, it could be the way that I do my work at my job, whatever it is. When others, when the way that they do what they do has to interact with what I am producing, then all of a sudden you might see the ISFP turn into someone that you did not know that he or she could be. All of a sudden the ISFP is saying, this thing that I'm producing represents me, and you other people are affecting it. And if you turn it into something that does not accurately represent me, well, then you're going to see my claws. Then you're going to see me become someone that you didn't know I could become, someone who is willing to not be mild, but rather be somewhat ruthless is probably the wrong word because that's too strong, but it could appear as a ruthlessness to everyone else. But what it really is just an overwhelming, unmeasurable dedication to excellence at whatever it is that I am producing, so that it will be consistent in the external world with who I believe myself to be in the internal world. There is where the mildness adjective for the ISFP breaks down, and you find that an ISFP can be anything but mild in those situations. Thank you so much for watching. Do please click like if you found this useful, informational, entertaining. If you would like to request a personalized video, you can go to the link in the description below to do that. And if you have not already subscribed, please do so. Thank you again and have an awesome day. Bye now.